As I sit at my small desk, I look around my tiny apartment. I am Hazel, a 28-year-old graphic designer. My walls are covered with colorful prints and sketches. This is my creative space, but right now, it feels heavy. I am grateful for this job, but it is hard. My manager, Mr. Davis, often gives me very little time to finish my projects. He is always rushing me, and that makes me stressed. I want to do my best work, but I do not feel strong enough. Growing up, I loved to draw. I spent hours with my pencil and paper. Art was my escape from the world. My parents always supported my dreams. They encouraged me to follow my passion for art. I went to university to study graphic design. I learned many things, and I had good friends there. But after school, finding a job was not easy. I sent dozens of applications, and many times I did not hear back. When I finally got this job, I was thrilled. However, excitement soon turned into worry. At work, my desk is often messy. There are papers everywhere. I try to organize my thoughts, but I struggle. I want to be a strong leader for the junior designers on my team. I mix with them during lunch and break times. My colleagues, Lisa and Jason, are very supportive. I often ask them for advice. They help me feel better, but I still feel anxious. This week has been tough. A big client wants a new logo in just 2 days. Mr. Davis did not think this was a big problem. "You can handle it, Hazel," he said. But I felt panic inside me. How can I finish it on time? My heart raced, and my mind was full of doubts. I thought about my family, who always believed in me. They taught me that hard work matters. I need to remember that. At that moment, I decided I must manage my time better. I took a deep breath and began to work. I broke the project into smaller steps. I focused on one part at a time. This helped me feel a bit more in control. As the hours passed, I could see my design coming to life. I visualized the finished logo, and this made me happier, but feeling stressed still made it hard to create. I remembered the shade of blue that calmed me. I painted my workspace with a little blue paint. It made my apartment feel cozy. It also made me put on my favorite music. Listening to calming tunes helps me clear my thoughts. Music is always a good friend when I feel lost or overwhelmed. I began working faster. With each stroke of my mouse, I felt more relaxed. I knew that I could push through. I wanted to prove to myself that I could manage this challenge, but as I worked, I also realized something important. I was not just an artist, I was also a leader. I could guide my team. I learned that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. My journey is only just beginning, and with each challenge, I grow a little stronger. This job is hard, but it is teaching me to rise. I just need to keep moving forward, one step at a time. As the days passed, I faced more challenges at work. I noticed a change in the office atmosphere. My coworker, Jenna, started treating me differently. At first, I thought she was just having a bad day. But soon, it became clear that her behavior was not just random. Jenna often laughed at my ideas during meetings. "Oh, Hazel, that will never work," she would say, rolling her eyes. Her words stung and made my heart sink. I tried to ignore her comments, but they grew more harsh. Last week, I suggested a design for the new client project. Jenna interrupted me loudly. "Really, Hazel? That design is too basic. No client will ever like it." My cheeks turned red, and everyone looked at me. I felt small and silly, as if my confidence slipped away. I wanted to respond, but the words would not come out. I took a deep breath and forced a smile to hide my hurt. Each time I faced her, my anxiety grew. I began thinking that maybe I was not good enough. "Maybe she is right," I told myself silently. I started doubting my abilities. My ideas became quieter in meetings. I almost stopped speaking up for fear of more criticism. How could I lead my team when my confidence was crumbling? Things got worse when Mr. Davis joined in. He never said anything against Jenna, but he stayed silent when she mocked me. The quiet agreement felt like a punch in the gut. I saw my team looking uncomfortable, but no one stepped in to support me. Each day, I felt more alone. I began questioning my place in the team. Could I truly be a good leader if I could not stand up for myself? One afternoon, I was at my desk, staring at my computer screen. I wanted to create a new design for a different project. I had a good idea, but my mind was foggy. Suddenly, I heard Jenna's voice from across the room. Hazel is always so slow. How will she ever finish on time? She yelled, with a mocking laugh. My stomach flipped. I wanted to disappear. I glanced at my coworkers. Some were pretending to work, while others looked uncomfortable but did nothing. It was time to take control. I knew I could not keep living like this. I held my breath and decided to change my feelings. I remembered the advice my parents gave me: believe in yourself, Hazel. You have strengths. There was a small voice in my heart saying I could do this. With patience and strength, I could find a way to solve my problems. I decided to talk to Mr. Davis privately. Can we meet? I need to discuss my role on the team, I asked him, my hands shaking slightly. His eyes widened, but he agreed to meet me later. My heart raced as I prepared for the conversation. Would I be brave enough to speak up about Jenna's behavior? I knew I had to try. This was my chance to show my strength and belief in my abilities. No one should be treated as I had been. As I wrote down my thoughts, I felt a bit of power inside me. So, I sat at my desk, taking deep breaths, ready to stand up for myself and my place in the team. It was time to rise. The days after my meeting with Mr. Davis felt heavy. I hoped he would understand my struggles, but when I spoke to him, I noticed he seemed distracted. I understand, Hazel. Just keep working hard, he said before moving on. My heart sank. His words felt empty. I wanted to scream, "What about Jenna?" but I stayed silent. Each day, I found it harder to stay positive. Jenna continued to make my life difficult. She would smile at me, but I could feel the darkness behind that smile. In meetings, she would cut me off. "You don't really think that's a good idea, do you?" she would say. Her voice dripped with sarcasm. My cheeks burned as everyone looked at me. I started to dread going to work. It felt like walking into a trap. As I sat at my desk, my mind felt foggy. I struggled to focus. Designing logos and graphics was once a joy for me. Now, it felt like a mountain I could not climb. I began to worry that I was not a good graphic designer. Maybe Jenna was right about me. I stopped sharing my ideas and kept my head down. My creativity felt lost in the noise of her comments. Some evenings, I would come home and cry. It felt lonely lying in bed with tears in my eyes. I missed the happy, confident Hazel who loved to create art. Now, the world felt gray. I felt my self-doubt growing like a weed in my mind. I was torn. Should I stand up to Jenna, or should I just keep quiet? Should I even stay at this job? Each time I thought about quitting, my heart raced. Leaving felt like admitting defeat. But staying felt like a heavy weight. One day, as I sat alone at lunch, I watched my team chat and laugh together. I felt completely isolated. They all seemed close, and I was on the outside looking in. It hurt to see them enjoy work while I felt so lost. I wanted to be part of the laughter. I wanted to feel safe to share my thoughts. In that lunchroom, I overheard Jenna making fun of my design again. She exclaimed, "Hazel must have missed art class to make something like that." A wave of sadness washed over me. I wanted to tell her to stop, but the words were stuck in my throat. Instead, I looked down at my food, trying to disappear. An internal battle raged inside me. How could I let her bully me like this? It felt like I was constantly fighting in my own mind. Every day was a struggle to find confidence. I wanted to tell Mr. Davis again, but fear held me back. Would he really listen this time? By the end of the week, I felt exhausted. My energy was low, and my passion for design faded. I went home and stared at the sketches I had put aside. I cannot let Jenna win, I thought fiercely. Deep down, I knew I had to make a choice. I could either accept this pain or find the courage to fight back. But the thought of standing up and facing Jenna made me anxious. Was I strong enough to take that step? I needed to gather my strength and stop the spiral of doubt. As I lay in bed, I took a deep breath. A small voice whispered, "You are better than her words." I clutched my pillow, hoping it would give me the strength I lacked. I knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but I had to rise again. The fight for my confidence was only just beginning. The day of the big presentation arrived, but I felt a storm brewing inside me. I had worked late into the night, putting together my best ideas for the client. I wanted everything to be perfect. Standing in front of the mirror that morning, I whispered to myself, "You can do this, Hazel. Just be strong." Yet, doubt shadowed my thoughts. I still heard Jenna's voice mocking me every day. As I walked into the conference room, my heart raced. I remembered the smiles of my colleagues, but now they seemed distant. As I took the front, the room felt cold. Jenna sat at the table with her arms crossed, her expression blank. I launched into my presentation. The words flowed for the first few slides, and I felt a spark of energy. Then, I glanced at Jenna. She smirked and whispered something to the colleague beside her. My confidence wavered. Suddenly, fear crept back. My mind froze for a moment. The next words slipped away, leaving me grasping for thoughts. I pressed on, but I stumbled over my words. It felt as if I were losing my listeners. I spotted Mr. Davis, and his expression was serious. Panic rose in my chest. I wanted to make this work. "Can you please come back to the slides?" Jenna interrupted suddenly, breaking my focus. "I believe Hazel doesn't know what she is doing." The words sliced through me like a dagger. I felt all eyes on me, piercing my skin. My palms grew sweaty, and I wanted to run away. I tried to gather my thoughts, but my mind was a mess. "You are strong," I told myself, but I felt so weak. Jenna's point-blank attack emptied my energy. In that moment, she symbolized everything that held me back. I stood frozen, unable to find my next words. I looked down, searching for a hidden strength, but it was buried under layers of fear. When the meeting ended, silence followed. I hurried back to my desk and felt a wave of shame crash over me. I sat down, my shoulders heavy with disappointment. It felt like I had let everyone down, especially myself. I realized how far I had fallen from the girl who loved to design. Tears stung my eyes, and frustration bubbled in my chest. I began questioning my worth again. In the quiet of my workspace, something changed. I was tired of this feeling. Why am I letting Jenna get to me? I thought. It hit me like a light bulb moment. If I did nothing, I would stay stuck. I could not let this bullying continue. Change was needed. Suddenly, I envisioned myself speaking to Mr. Davis again. My heart raced with the thought of confrontation, but it also gave me hope. I had to face my fears. With fierce determination, I decided I would tell him everything, about Jenna's behavior and how it affected my work. Maybe it was time for me to become the strong leader I wanted to be. Taking a deep breath, I stood up. My hands shook as I opened my office door. I took one last glance at my desk. I saw the sketches I had almost given up on. They sparkled with potential. I had to believe I could turn this around. I walked toward Mr. Davis's office, feeling nervous but also powerful. This was my moment. The turning point had arrived. With every step closer to his door, I felt lighter, ready to take charge of my future. I was ready to confront my fears and find my voice. In that moment, I knew something would change. I could not go back to the old Hazel. The new Hazel was standing up for herself. I took a deep breath before knocking, ready to face whatever came next. I stood outside Mr. Davis's office, my heart pounding loudly in my chest. I felt scared and nervous, but I took a deep breath and knocked gently. "Come in," I heard his voice call. I opened the door slowly, trying to hide my shaking hands. As I walked in, Mr. Davis looked up from his desk. He appeared busy, and I suddenly felt very small. Hazel, what's on your mind? He asked, raising an eyebrow. My voice caught in my throat, but I forced the words out. I want to talk about Jenna, and how she treats me at work. As soon as I said it, I felt a wave of fear hit me. Would he believe me? Would he care? My heart raced as I went on, explaining her mocking comments and the fear she put in me. It felt good to say it all, but I also felt sick. Mr. Davis listened, but his face remained stoic. After I finished speaking, he paused for a moment, and I could see he was unsure how to respond. Hazel, I appreciate your honesty, but you need to focus on your work, he said coolly. I've seen some struggles in your recent presentations, he continued, and my stomach dropped. I felt small and lost again. This was not the reaction I had hoped for. Guilt washed over me. Maybe I should have stayed quiet. Maybe I should not have pointed out Jenna's behavior. It felt like I was making things worse for myself. Mr. Davis shifted in his chair, looking distant. You need to show stronger performance, he added sharply. Take this feedback seriously. I nodded, but inside, I felt like I was crumbling. I wanted to run from the room. After this meeting, all my confidence faded. As I walked back to my desk, I hung my head low. I passed my coworkers in silence. They chatted and laughed, while I felt isolated in my sadness and frustration. I knew JR would see me after what I said to Mr. Davis and think less of me. That night at home, I lay on my bed, thinking about how my day went. My dreams of being a strong leader felt shattered. I thought I could start to change things for myself, but instead, I felt weaker than before. I couldn't shake the feelings of guilt and regret combined with anxiety swirling in my mind. Everything I had worked for since my first day now felt pointless. I looked at my sketches on the wall, and they no longer felt like my proud creations. Instead, they reminded me of my failures. My hands trembled as I picked one up, thinking about how I failed during the meeting. I was not the confident designer I wanted to be. I felt trapped. What if I had lost this job? Thoughts of quitting drifted into my mind again. It seemed easier to escape than to fight. The weight became unbearable, pressing down on my chest. I wanted to hide from everyone and forget about my dreams of leadership. I felt lost in a web of self-doubt. What if I could never change? What if Jenna was right all along? Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I buried my face in my pillow. Hours passed, and I wished the night away. I needed a break from the pain I felt. Part of me thought about talking to Jenna, but deep down, I knew she would only laugh at me. I made a promise to myself that this was not the end. I still needed to figure out how to stand up for myself and my work. I was tired of feeling broken. I needed to find that hope and strength again. The only way was to face these challenges. That night, as I lay on my bed, I felt drained. Every worry crowded my mind. My career dreams felt so far away. But as I stared at the ceiling, something shifted inside me. A small voice broke through the storm of negative thoughts. It was the voice of hope. I began to think about the moments that brought me joy. I remembered how art made me feel alive, how every stroke of my pencil carried a piece of my heart. I missed that Hazel, the one who believed in herself. I thought about the advice my parents used to give me when I was younger. Hazel, never let others dull your sparkle. Those words echoed in my mind. I had let Jenna and my fear take that sparkle away. This was my life, and I had the power to change it. I pictured the designs on my wall again. They had been created with passion and joy, not for judgment. They represented who I was, and no one could take that away from me. Suddenly, a wave of determination washed over me. I couldn't let fear rule my life any longer. I had spent too much time worrying about what others thought. They would not define my worth. I needed to claim my space and voice. It was time to take action. Just thinking about it felt like lifting a heavy weight off my shoulders. I thought, you can do this, Hazel. You have the skills and talent that brought you here. That moment felt like a breath of fresh air. I jumped out of bed and opened my laptop. I began looking for forums on workplace bullying. I found stories of others who had faced situations like mine. Their tales of strength inspired me. I realized I was not alone. Many people had learned to stand up for themselves, and I could too. Each success story lit a fire inside me. I felt stronger as I read how courage had helped them. The following morning, I prepared for work feeling different. Instead of dread, I felt excitement buzzing in my veins. I thought about my sketch again. It was too important to put aside. I would use it in my next meeting, and this time, I would share it confidently. I wanted to prove to myself that I was capable, regardless of what Jenna had said before. At the office, I walked in with my head held high. I noticed Jenna at her desk, but this time, her presence did not frighten me. When the team met, I shared my ideas clearly and passionately. I spoke about what I had created with courage. I saw some surprised reactions, but I didn't let it shake me. I was finally showing the true Hazel, the artist who loved her work. In that moment, I realized that stepping into the light made me stronger. My heart raced, not from fear but from excitement and hope. I was slowly taking back my power and reshaping my story. One step at a time, I was fighting for my happiness and success. After the meeting, I felt proud, knowing I had found my voice. This was a turning point for me, and the future began to feel brighter. I left work that day with a smile. Whatever Jenna said, I would not let it define me. I had the strength to face challenges ahead. With newfound confidence, I was ready to continue this journey, knowing that I had the power to create my own story. Falling action. The following week, something changed inside me. I felt lighter and more open to new possibilities. I discovered that speaking up had given me strength, and I was beginning to embrace my place in the team. Each morning, I walked into the office with a sense of courage. I felt ready to be the Hazel I had always wanted to be. Even during difficult moments, I reminded myself that I could handle anything. My coworkers seemed to notice too. Many offered friendly smiles, including Lisa, who had been quiet for a long time. One afternoon, she came to my desk and said, "Hazel, I admire how you spoke in the meeting last week. You were really brave." Her words made a warm feeling spread inside me. It was the encouragement I needed. I felt my confidence growing. Then something unexpected happened. Jenna approached me one day while I was busy designing a new project. Initially, I felt nervous, as old fears crept back. But instead of being aggressive, Jenna seemed different. "Can we talk?" she asked tentatively. It surprised me. My heart raced, wondering what she would say. She pulled up a chair and took a deep breath. "I heard some comments after the meeting about my behavior," she began. "I realize that I am not always nice. I guess I often act from my own fears." For a brief moment, I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to shout that she had hurt me, but instead, I felt a sense of understanding blossom inside. With a soft voice, I replied, "I understand how you feel." I was scared myself. I'm learning how to stand up for my work. We talked about our struggles and shared our experiences in the workplace. It felt oddly comforting. In that conversation, I found compassion where there used to be tension. I realized the workplace environment was hard for everyone. As days passed, my energy grew more powerful. I started taking on more projects with excitement. I found joy in thinking of creative ideas with my colleagues. I even began giving advice to junior designers seeking help. It felt rewarding to share my journey with them. I was learning that being a leader wasn't just about authority, it was also about lifting others as I grew. With every success, my confidence grew stronger. I received positive feedback on my designs, and I felt a new pulse of creativity running through me. I immersed myself in my work, allowing my ideas to flourish without fear. I started seeking feedback from my team, sharing not just my successes but also my moments of struggle. This practical openness solidified my growth. Even Jenna contributed positively. Her feedback began to shift, and she started collaborating with me more often. We worked together on some projects, finding common ground despite our differences. Life felt good again. I discovered that the power to change lay deep within me. I began to see my challenges as stepping stones rather than obstacles. I felt in control and excited about the future. I realized that I could face any issues with strength and support from others. Now, I felt ready for anything. I had embraced the beautiful journey of growth, and every day was a new opportunity. This was not just the end of one battle but the beginning of a brighter path. I was on my way to becoming the leader I dreamed I could be. Step by step, I was reaching for the stars. With each passing week, I noticed myself changing. I felt more confident and passionate about my work, but I also understood that transformation meant more than just personal growth. I realized I needed to set clear boundaries to protect myself and my creativity. It was time to stand firm and make sure no one crossed the line again. I was tired of being silenced, and I knew it was my responsibility to speak up. The week after my conversation with Jenna, I noticed her behavior starting to change. While she was still sarcastic at times, there were moments when she seemed to reconsider her words. She worked with me on a project, and we collaborated better than I ever thought possible. But we still had a long way to go. One afternoon, when Mr. Davis called a team meeting, I decided it was the right moment to speak out again. The agenda included discussing everyone's workloads and expectations. During the meeting, I noticed that Jenna was back to being overly critical. "Hazel, your design choices are still lacking," she said. Old fears shouted in my mind. However, this time, I felt a spark of determination. I took a deep breath and forced myself to respond. "I appreciate your feedback, Jenna, but I believe I made choices that fit our clients' needs," I said clearly. I would not let her harsh words unsettle me. The room fell silent for a moment. I saw surprise on some faces, and I couldn't help but feel a rush of courage. Mr. Davis nodded thoughtfully. "Hazel has valid points here. Let's keep in mind that different opinions can lead to stronger designs," he remarked, and I felt gratitude wash over me. My coworkers shot me quick smiles of support. It was a good feeling, knowing others understood what I was facing. As the meeting continued, I understood that speaking up was only part of the journey. I noticed patterns in how we treated one another. If I wanted to maintain my newfound strength, I needed to continue setting boundaries. The next day, I decided to meet with Mr. Davis one-on-one. I shared my concerns about Jenna's comments during team meetings. "I don't want to create a toxic environment for myself or others. I need to work in a respectful space." His eyes widened, and he immediately took my words seriously. He agreed to hold a team-building workshop to address communication styles and encourage better support within the team. I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Afterward, I felt invigorated. I had taken control and found support, but I knew I needed to stay strong. I began to share more of my own thoughts in meetings. Gradually, something lovely unfolded in our team dynamic. When I proposed ideas, my coworkers listened. Instead of facing sarcasm, I experienced curiosity and collaboration. I developed a network of people willing to help me. I also began talking more openly with my coworkers about mental health. "It really helps when we support one another," I said during lunch one day. I saw heads nodding in agreement, a gesture I cherished. Conversations slowly turned into sharing strategies on stress management, which added a new layer of connection in the office. As I established boundaries, I could feel my self-esteem growing each day. I was no longer that shy designer who feared conflict. Each challenge became a stepping stone, pushing me closer to the Hazel I aspired to be. I saw how important it is for a healthy workspace. Without boundaries, we stifle creativity and growth. These changes felt thrilling. I can embrace my true potential now. I had learned that with practice, clarity, and support, the path forward could be bright. Now, I wake up each day eager to show up and be my authentic self. I no longer shied away from being a leader. Instead, I welcomed the journey ahead with open arms. As the days went by, I felt more at peace in the office. I had started to carve out my space, and setting boundaries made a huge difference. My coworkers began to see me in a new light. The more I engaged, the more they found ways to lift each other up. One day, I sat at my desk after finishing a challenging project when Lisa walked over with a big smile on her face. "You did an amazing job on that project, Hazel," she said. Everyone was super impressed in the meeting. "I think you really showed your strength." Hearing her words warmed my heart. It felt wonderful to get recognition for my hard work. Lisa's encouragement made me realize just how much our attitudes had shifted since I began speaking up. In that moment, I felt a rush of pride and clarity. I was not only growing as a designer but also evolving as a leader within the team. I started contributing ideas more freely. One particular week, we had a series of video calls with a major client. I was leading the discussions, presenting our concepts. The more I spoke about my designs, the more confident I became. It became clear that my voice mattered, and the team recognized that. After one call, I decided to propose a new design idea to integrate the client's requested features while keeping the visual impact strong. I took a deep breath and presented my thoughts. The room listened closely, and Jenna, surprisingly, looked thoughtful instead of critical. When I finished, Mr. Davis nodded and said, "Great work, Hazel. This is exactly what we need." The small win filled me with joy and motivation. I realized that when we voice our ideas openly and clearly, we can inspire change. It was during another meeting when I saw Jenna's shift even more. She spoke up to chime in. "I have to admit, Hazel's design ideas are really brilliant." She helped me see this project differently. My mouth dropped slightly. It was the last thing I expected to hear from her. In the moment, I felt lighter. This was proof users noticed my work and felt inspired by it. After the meeting, I took a moment to reflect on how far I had come. I looked around my office and thought about how important it is to communicate and support each other. I began to feel that resolve within me. The journey wasn't over, but we were moving in the right direction. I shared with my team how we could keep supporting each other, and it felt great to lead that discussion. Every small victory solidified my growth. Beyond the recognition, I also found that my anxiety began to fade. I realized that being part of a positive work environment meant feeling comfortable taking risks and making mistakes. The fear of judgment faded away like a passing shadow whenever I believed in myself and my abilities. From here on, I wanted to focus not only on my success but also on how we could encourage each other. I gathered my coworkers to discuss how we could keep our team spirit high. Together, we set goals of celebrating small successes. We agreed to support one another by sharing positive feedback regularly. As our initiative grew, I felt ready to embrace the changes that would come. With these new steps, I stepped into a role where we all continued to inspire and empower each other. I had turned my experiences into an opportunity for growth. This journey of finding my voice had transformed me and would help shape our team. I was excited about what lay ahead. The goal was bigger than my own dreams. It was about fostering a strong, supportive workplace. And together, we could achieve it all. Resolution. The days in the office felt brighter, and I grew more confident with each conversation. Our team support grew stronger, and I felt like I finally belonged. I had found my voice and transformed the way I viewed my work. But one afternoon, as I sat at my desk reviewing my project plans, a thought hit me hard. I realized that while the environment had improved, I still had to make a final decision about my career path. I had been thinking about my long-term goals. What did I truly want from my job? I loved being a graphic designer, but I also wanted to lead and inspire others. The question became clear in my mind. What would it take to truly thrive in my career? I reflected on what I had learned so far. Speaking up and supporting my team had been empowering, but I knew that growing meant addressing the whole picture. After contemplating for a few days, I decided I would not only stay in my current job but also work towards a leadership position. I wanted to take on more responsibilities and help shape a positive work culture where everyone felt valued. I realized I could make changes not just for myself, but for my whole team. This path excited me. It was a decision that came straight from my heart. When I sat down with Mr. Davis for our monthly review, I felt a rush of hope. "I've been thinking a lot about my future here," I began. I shared my determination to step up and support the team in new ways. Mr. Davis listened closely, his eyebrows lifted in interest. I explained my wish to take on projects that could help mentor junior designers and create a more inclusive environment. To my surprise, he smiled and said, "I think you're ready for the next step, Hazel. I can support you in finding mentorship roles." His approval filled me with joy, and I felt a swell of pride. I had first feared his response, but I realized that boldness begets opportunity. The following weeks shifted my focus to finding ways to empower others. I reached out to junior designers and invited them to lunch, where we casually talked about their experiences and offered support. These conversations felt meaningful. I loved seeing them start to open up about their ideas and fears. Before long, they began asking for my feedback on their work. With each interaction, I grew more determined. The toxic feelings that once clouded my mind faded away. I wanted to build a space where people felt encouraged and inspired. Together, we tackled challenges, and I loved every minute. Each success became a shared win. Looking back, I realized how much I had grown. This journey had taught me that confidence doesn't come from the absence of fear but rather from facing it head-on. I also realized that following my passion was the key to true fulfillment. My career was not just a job, it was a chance to make a difference. So, as I glanced at the designs on my wall, I smiled, fully embracing who I had become. I felt at peace, knowing my decision to stay and grow was right. My story was now about empowerment, support, and joy. I had transformed my mindset and my workplace, setting the stage for endless opportunities ahead. And as I met challenges, I knew I had the strength to rise above them, making each step in my journey worthwhile and fulfilling. As I reflected on my growth, I began to see my future more clearly. Every conversation and decision had led me to feel more secure in my role. I understood that my journey was not just about surviving the workplace challenge but also about thriving in a more positive environment. I felt empowered to take the steps I needed for my career. With the support from my team and Mr. Davis, I took action. I signed up for a leadership development program offered by our company. I wanted to learn more about leadership skills, conflict resolution, and effective communication. I realized that these skills would help me guide others and create the atmosphere I dreamed of in our workplace. Each week, as I attended the program, I felt my confidence grow. The workshops were valuable and provided me with tools to foster a supportive environment. I learned how to empower others by giving constructive feedback and creating open lines of communication. I practiced setting clear goals and was surprised by how much my positive mindset influenced those around me. Meanwhile, the junior designers began to thrive. They started exchanging ideas freely and collaborating on projects. I was incredibly proud to see them take ownership of their work. They approached me for guidance, eagerly asking for my input. I loved being a mentor in their journey as they overcame their fears just as I had. This sense of community fueled my ambition to do more. Seeing Jenna more frequently during meetings was challenging, but I felt ready. I decided to keep a professional relationship with her, choosing to focus on growth instead of lingering on past conflicts. I encouraged her to share constructive feedback during team projects and honored her ideas. Gradually, I noticed her attitude shift. She became more supportive, and before long, we were collaborating well. Every day, I reminded myself of my new mindset. Challenges were a regular part of life, but I now approached them differently. I began running every morning to clear my mind, releasing stress and bolstering my mental health. These small changes helped me form a healthy routine, allowing me to show up to work more focused and energized. As I looked ahead, I could see exciting possibilities lining the horizon. I envisioned opportunities to lead new projects and mentor even more colleagues. I knew that my experience could help others avoid the struggles I once faced and support them in developing their talents. It made me feel fulfilled. This journey wasn't just about my growth. It was about creating a culture where everyone felt valued and respected. I made it my goal to ensure that my workplace would be a safe harbor. I believed that if we all supported each other, our work would reflect that positivity. Looking down the road ahead, I felt hopeful. I planned to pursue higher roles, whether within this company or beyond it. I wanted to encourage innovation and creativity while promoting a respectful culture. Each step I took would be about breaking down barriers and inspiring growth in others. I felt brave and powerful enough to face whatever challenges came next. I was determined to keep moving forward in my journey, one where I embraced collaboration, empowerment, and personal growth. As I took a deep breath and stepped into another day of possibilities, I couldn't help but smile, ready to embrace all that lay ahead. Life felt full of hope, and I was eager to create the best version of myself.